I used to do takes of things over and over again to only find that I've not recorded it. So now it's like etched in my brain. Even though I've seen myself press record, I'm like,
double check that.
It's a really slow existence.
I'm the same leaving my house. I'm like, I get halfway down the street and I'm like, did I shut the door? I was just like, did I turn in? Like, fuck. And I go back and check it and like, yes, I did. I'm not a fucking idiot.
When have we ever left the house and not shut the door? It's so
especially if you've like just had a doobie or something in that car, you're just like, I'm like, I don't trust myself.
I'm like, they're gonna rob my house. My flatmate's gonna hate me. Fuck. It's just, do you know what? That makes you feel so much better because I do that all the fucking time, man.
The paranoia is real.
It is real.
Very
it is
real.
so true. It is so true. Ooh, that was a good one.
That wasn't bad. I'm a pretty cracky guy. Crack addict.
Yeah, in more ways than one. One of the worst things about hosting a podcast is watching your own mental process back when you're editing the podcast. So this is just being caught by that, and it's it's really humbling. It's really humbling. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Resting Place podcast. I'm Dapo Agiri and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, rapper, producer, visionary, Tzusan.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. Happy with the intro? How are we doing, fella?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. Managed to navigate just about to get here. Yeah.
We've talked about dilemmas of getting from Victoria, well, supposed to be going to Victoria, ending up in West Hampstead, and how you navigate that. The Victoria line helps.
It does, bro. Without it, I'd be very lost. I'd be very, very lost.
Thank you for making the journey in today. We've known each other a couple of years now.
Yeah, something like that.
The first time I met you, you were in my yard. Do you
remember? Yeah, for the football.
For the football, yeah.
For sure.
I feel like
the derby, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was
Tottenham Arsenal, yeah.
Tottenham Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, there was Newcastle Sheffield, and Newcastle won 9-1 or something. Absolutely pasted them.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that was sick.
That was a good day. I remember you and Jared rocked up, and you were. I don't know where you. I can't remember where you've been the night out before, but you were both like, "Yeah, coffees or not." It's been one of them.
I can't remember what we did the night before either. Now.
So jokes. But yeah, we've known each other a couple of years now. For those at home who don't know you, or those who have come on to specifically hear what you've got to say, can you give us a little bit about who Tzusan is? Let us know.
Tzusan is me.
Nice.
I am Tzusan. People might try and tell you different, but
they're wrong.
I maintain my stance on the issue. I'm a musician, rapper, vocalist, producer, whatever the fuck. From Edinburgh. Been living in Brighton for a while, and yeah, I've got an album called Ponzu coming out, or possibly just come out.
Let me timeline this.
Yeah.
Would have just come out.
Yeah.
Would have just come out.
So it's out now.
It's out now.
Go buy it.
Get that shit.
Go buy
Get that shit. I've heard it. Have you? Thank you so much for joining me. I have genuinely had the pleasure of listening to Ponzu, and we will get on to that now. Are you a snacky guy?
Am I a snacky guy?
Yeah, are you a snacky guy?
I'll snack.
You snack. All right, so OGs of the podcast might remember we used to start off every episode asking people what their favourite flavour of crisps are. Then I started meeting people who didn't like crisps, which is tough. So I opened it up to a broader range of snacks, because I do feel, and
I mean, you can't not like crisps so much that you can't pick one. Gun to your head, pick a packet of crisps. Oh, I don't like crisps. Pop! You're fucking dead, mate. Like, no. Come on.
This is. Do you know what?
Just make something up.
You're literally saying what I think every time this happens. I'm like,
really?
Pick one.
It's like, how is this so hard? Like skips bang, mate.
They do bang. And I'm not going to fact check you. Like, if I never see you eating a pack of skips, it's fine.
Bro, I haven't eaten a pack of skips in years, mate. Years. It's been a long... I'm going to do that as soon as we're done here.
I'm going to get you one just to prove it. And if you don't like it, we're coming back and we're re-recording it.
Right, take that bit out. We're talking about scampi fries.
Scampi? Bottom barrel, mate. Bottom barrel.
Whoa. Nah, scampi fries are up there, man.
Nah, not
Scampi fries are top tier.
They don't taste like scampi or fries.
Nope. They taste like a secret third thing.
Bottom barrel. But what snacks? Crisp or not crisp? What would you go for? Like, if you're leaving the studio today, you're a bit peckish. It's a Sunday. It's raining. It's a bit miserable outside. What's the snack that's going to perk you up?
Do you know what? I've said this before. I mean, it's maybe... I don't know if it's totally appropriate, but it would be good. See, there's a technique. This is
I really don't know where you're going to go.
It's a complicated answer to this question, right? I don't know if you've ever had anything like this, but like, see, the pub, my old kind of local pub in Edinburgh, used to have a big jar of pickled eggs on the counter.
Jeez.
So, yeah, I would get like a pack, or maybe two. Maybe I'd get some pork scratchings, maybe some scampi fries, some bacon fries. You know, it's for the boys.
Family style.
Yeah. We don't all have a nice little munch, and always make sure there's a couple left over at the end with all the dust, and then you just beat them up, get it to a nice powdery dust, and then you get your pickled egg, Worcester sauce, Tabasco, and then you put the pickled egg in the crisp pork scratching dust and like form it up, and it's like a Scotch pickled egg that you don't have. That is a top tier pint snack.
That is a unbelievable answer. That is.
I'm a snacky guy.
And do you know what it is? It's this proves my fucking point. Yeah. So the reason I asked this question is my theory is that you can tell a lot about a person by the way that they snap.
Okay, what's the psychological reading?
And I feel like
he's developing a profile.
From this is that's such a spot on answer for you. Like, I feel like your trains of thought go in places that people don't often go to, and maybe they should more, right? Because you end up with a Scotch pickled crisp dust egg.
End up with a flavour sensation.
A flavour sensation.
Whoa.
Unbelievable. That was great. That was a really good answer. That was a really good answer. We are here to talk about music, though.
Yeah, we can do that.
Why don't we talk a little bit about how Tzusan came to be Tzusan? You are Tzusan.
I am, yeah.
So,
yeah.
What was like not maybe start, but what was the musical journey? Like, how did you get to the point where you are as an artist? Because I feel like from having listened to you prior to meeting you, and obviously like being a fan of your shit, like I feel like your sound is quite distinctive in terms of the murky, darker nature of different avenues of rap. How did you know that was? And to be fair, the content of the bars is very like there's a lot of technicality and wordplay, and like it's intricate. How do you know that's who you are? Like, how did that come to be?
I guess like trial and error, man. A lot of trial and error. Kind of finding your sound kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of trial and error, I think, for everyone involved in that, and also just I think with Ponzu especially, like obviously like in the last couple of years working with Shogun and doing more kind of collab-y stuff, making Ponzu's kind of, it's really unapologetically Tzusan. Like there's no like, you know, like I love working with Joe and stuff like that, but when you're working on a collab project, you come at it with a different perspective, and like
there's the element of compromise that at least
for sure. I mean, me and Joe, even musically, are like chalk and cheese. You know, we're very, very like different sides of the same coin, or whatever, however you would want to put that. So then, to kind of come from that and get to go back to, all right, I'm gonna do a Tzusan project. What is the most Tzusan it could be to kind of sort of deliberately contrast that like side of myself that is more on display with the collab stuff. So it's kind of more deliberately gone the other way a bit.
And as I appreciate that this is going to be a hard question, but what if you were to describe to someone what more Tzusan is? Like what does that entail? Like what makes it more you?
I don't know. There's like there's a kind of like, I call it surrealism. I guess, but I'm not sure if that's totally the right word. It's like, I think an important part of my process, not just making music, but also like listening to music. A big part of that is kind of like world building and like creating like a, you know, an album should be a little world or a vibe. Like I've said to, you know, before talking about it, like a kind of cityscape. I don't really think of it as a narrative. I think of it as like a setting that then other people can put their own interpretations and meanings on and whatever else. Whereas like
that's fucking sick.
With the stuff with Shogun, that's more just kind of like, oh, okay, let's make some rap music and we'll do some raps and stuff. Like, yeah, sweet. Whereas even on my other previous solo releases, I always try and think of it as like, yeah, this is like a little universe you're building, or like a little video game that you're building that then someone else is going to come and listen to, and that will kind of put them as this space, as like the weird avatar version of me that they can like go and play the story in. Does that make sense?
Do you know
Probably
what?
Makes no sense at all.
It kind of does, and obviously I've listened to the album, so I think especially when you're talking about music as a setting, and it's so weird because literally 2 hours ago I was talking about like music as a narrative and the music being a vessel to tell a story. You saying that after having listened to it makes a lot of sense to me, because I think even sometimes like within songs, like I'm sort of there in the moment for while the song's playing, and there's like a little outro, and I'm like, oh, I'm back.
Right. Yeah.
I'm back again. Yeah. I'm back at like the home screen, ready to go
the
into the
loading.
Exactly.
The next level.
Yeah. That. So when you were talking about like games and making it like a separate world, I feel like without even like you've succeeded in that from my point of view.
Sweet, man.
That's
I'll take that. But yeah,
I think the element of the surreal and looking at more experimental and abstract like influences in music does fit in very nicely with the Vinyl Resting Place album that you've chosen.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, you know, I selected it kind of along those similar lines because it's an album that I think kind of does paint that sort of picture. But going back a wee bit, I guess, like there is a sort of narrative to my work and to Ponzu and whatever, but like other people could never really understand that. That's my narrative. Do you know what I mean? And like they might be able to relate to little bits of it. It's kind of like lots of snapshots, and then you can arrange them or take whatever emotional meaning from them you want and be different to what I wrote it with. Or do you know what I mean? I think that's important to like leave that space in music for people to have their own.
No, it is at its
opinions
like
of.
at its heart, like subjective, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
as much as
yeah.
I can sit here on my silly little podcast and say whether I think music is good or bad, and
For sure.
what the meanings are, even for you as artists who make the music, context, time, how it sits with you changes. How you feel about it.
Massively.
So even if you've written it to mean one thing, and you've written and that was the intention at the time,
I think
you can shift.
like being neurodivergent or whatever as well. Like, it's a concept to me I came across recently of this thing like alexithymia, which is like a thing that people kind of like can't process emotions in the minute, and it's all about like later on when you think back to then you kind of understand what you're feeling. And I think like the process of making music is that for me, or at least really similar to that, where it's like at the time I won't be like, okay, I'm gonna write this song about this or that. I'll just have the urge to write, and then kind of sometimes like years later, I can go back to a song I've made and listen to it, and only then will I understand how it actually felt in the moment. I'll be like, that's what I was going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like a
What's the word again?
alexithymia.
Alexithymia.
Yeah.
That's a good word of the day. But I definitely understand the sentiment. And like, do you get that? So do you get that at the point of writing where you're like you're taking situations that have happened to you in the past and you're experiencing those emotions then, or is it only when you hear the music afterwards you're like, oh, now I really feel what I was trying to emote when I wrote it? Does it kind of go through the whole process?
It's more like I don't understand what I'm trying to emote at the time. I'll just be like, I'll just have the urge or like be confused or some shit, and I'll get writing, and then when I look back on the sort of finished piece or whatever, then I can kind of be like, I must have been feeling like this kind of way about something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that
so
makes
like,
sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a tool to process emotions that you can't necessarily process in the moment. You put them down on something and come back to them, and then you have a clearer idea, maybe.
There's always links between like emotions, kind of mental state, neurodiversity, and arts, and I think that there is that perfect storm sometimes where like we don't really understand why we are doing the things the way that we are doing, but then we are able to then get something at the end of it that is productive and hopefully like positive in terms of not just like what the music then goes on to do, but in terms of understanding yourself and like being like, okay, I can see where I was in that stage. I can understand why I was feeling like this and why I was going to get to this point of view. Like everything's so intertwined and interlinked, and it's interesting that you are cognitive of that within your process, because I feel like a lot of people would probably just be writing and then the music will come out
don't
and then,
sort of think
you
about
wouldn't
I
settle
think
with it.
like I probably haven't always either. I think that's
yeah.
something that you kind of, you know, the more you like practice your art, whatever that may be, the more you kind of realize what it means to you, what it's doing for you, why you're doing it in the first place. And sometimes that's not pretty.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes that's a
it's a mirror up to the soul.
Yeah, that's a reckoning.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I do hear you. I think it's a really nice insight. One thing I do love when I do these podcasts, and from an audience point of view, I get like I take a lot from music that makes me feel a certain way. Like I'm very much like the sit in my room, lock myself away, tunes will play, and for whatever reason, certain things will make me feel better in that sentiment, and that's how Vinyl Resting Place became a thing that it is. Blah 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 blah. But like, I really am loving understanding like different people's approach to the making of music, because as in the same vein where I as an audience member or I as a listener have like a completely personal reaction to it, to whatever music I'm listening to, each producer, each artist has like a really, really specific and like so like unique process is the word that comes to mind, but it's not even like they go through their own sways of emotion to even get to the point where they're making the music and releasing the music. And some people, like I've had some people who are just like, yeah, I just wanted to be like a star. Like that's what I want to do. I make pop star music. I make stuff that's gonna pop, and I am this. Like I was meant to be this. I was like, that's amazing. That's cool. But like, it's such a far departure from your process.
I think if I came at it with the attitude of I'm gonna be a star, and it's like, no, you're a Scottish rapper, like, bro. Like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like shut up, man. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Like, yeah.
But it's yeah. I find it increasingly interesting, and I appreciate you kind of being like transparent with it, because sometimes people just don't want to chat about that shit as well. Like chat about like what steps that they take, because it is so personal. Like it is,
yeah, totally. As much as it's personal for the artists, as an artist myself, like we were saying, have that consciousness of it's personal for the listener as well, in a way that you're not really gonna understand. That's for them.
And it's a weird thing. I want to say that I was listening to a podcast or reading an article, but most likely I was watching a TikTok. If I'm a whole man.
It happens.
It's a bizarre thing that you birth this album or this project or whatever, and you send it out, and you want like X amount of listeners and whatever, and you want it to do the numbers, blah blah blah, and like there could just be like there could be some random kid in fucking Chile who just is buzzing about your music, and you've done something to like change their life for. Yeah, and you just have no idea unless they.
I mean, the funny thing is though, you kind of do have some idea, because like you've obviously got like Spotify stats and all this kind of thing. Like you can see on the map on your Spotify like where people are listening to you from. So like I know that there's like a group of people. I would love to like chat to them and see what they're about, but I know that there's a group of people in Lima.
Come on, like, I was so close
on it. Yeah, they're like there's a little like Peruvian group of pals who are like
who are just into it.
Yeah,
that's sick.
That's sick, man. Like
that's like if you're listening to this in Lima, Peru, and you're bumping Tzusan,
drop us a shout. Man.
Yeah, we'll get it going. We'll get a little link up.
How come Peru?
Yes,
make
man.
It happen.
Yeah, a track and a gig. Let's do it. Yeah. That'd be sick. You heard it here first, people.
Ronell's trying to get me to go South America.
Mate, mate, he's been chewing my ear off over fucking Brazil, and I can't go.
It's like, bro, we don't have money.
He doesn't have money. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have money, but like now's the time. I'm insanely jealous. It's gonna be fucking unreal. It's gonna be unreal. Should we play a little game?
Yeah, let's play a little game.
Let's play a little game.
It's like Jigsaw. Play a game.
I don't know if I'm going to keep this in. But when I was like 15, I was at school, and my form tutor left his car keys on the desk over like a lunchtime or a break time, and
donuts in the car.
I decided. I didn't know what car it was. Luckily, I was so still.
Just click the button.
Nice. But I thought, because I was bored and had nothing else to do, I hid his keys, but then set up like a really elaborate Saw style. Do you want to play a game? He walked in, he was like, right, so where are my keys then to the class? I just held up. Do you want to play a game? Luckily, he actually let me play it out. Like, he went through, he did all the things.
Fair enough, mate.
And then
Fair
gave
enough.
me a detention.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you knew it was coming.
That will happen,
But
he just wanted his keys.
No. I have so much more sympathy for teachers now, because like now I know people who are like my age who are teachers, and I was like, you guys have to deal with 30 fucking.
I would have made your life hell.
You were the sort of teacher I would have made cry. Like that.
To be fair, like
it's the
sort of teachers that I would have been causing problems for probably wouldn't have been
mates.
The ones that are about our age.
Yeah,
you know?
that is true. Yeah, that is true.
They tended to be a bit sounder.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes
not always. Not always. Not always.
Sometimes they think that they're one of the gang because you have to earn that right. Yeah. Agreed. Sorry, that was a random tangent. We are playing a game. Our game is called Bop and Banger. To give you a little bit of an insight, a bop is something that we would class as like music for the moment. Like it had its time.
Whereas a banger is timeless.
A classic, iconic.
Alright.
If you think it is neither and you think it's generally a bad song, the third option is shite.
So I was going to say bullshit.
Bop
banger bollocks.
Bop banger bollocks is way better. We're stealing that. Fuck. So much better. Bop banger bollocks. We've gone for a little bit of a range. So you've got a couple of rap songs, and then a couple of like garagey tunes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe like classic-y.
Sweet
dance.
like chocolate.
I wish.
Like, I got to change my list.
He got me. The first one,
Right.
Jazz, Mick Jenkins.
Oh, that's a banger. That's an all-time.
An all-time banger.
bro,
All time
all-time.
banger.
The sample flip, the remix of Britney Spears.
Yeah. Oh,
Hard. Actual, like, before I was Susan under my previous rap alias, the first kind of like batch of tunes EP I ever released had a tune on it with that same sample.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like must have been like 3 or 4 years before the Mick Jenkins thing came out. So when that came out, I was like, I know that sample. I know this beat. So that's a banger.
That is
absolute.
I would agree.
I might have done it first. He done it better. Like,
yeah. P's and Q's, Kayla.
I mean, it's got to be banger as well. Classic. It's got to be a classic.
I do agree. Katie on a Mission, Katie B.
Bop.
See, I'd say banger.
Nah, it's of its time, mate. Like it can stay where it is. I don't need it back. It was alright. It was alright, and then it got rinsed and became annoying.
It did get rinsed. It was overplayed for like a good 6 years, but it is good. It is.
I think as well that was like a point in dubstep's evolution. That was kind of one of the markers. That, and there was like a Scream LaRue remix around the same time, right?
Oh.
And like those two kind of like pushed dubstep into like a mainstream.
Was it Going In For The Kill?
Yeah,
a remix of that. Yeah, Scream remix of that. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
But it was kind of like it was before it got too broy, before it got all Skrillexy and Americanized. But it was kind of the start of the end of that like actual like subby like gutter golly dubstep.
Yeah, fair enough. This is a very good point, but I still think it's a banger.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like maybe I just have that jaded.
And then the final one, Little Bit of Luck, DJ Luck and MC Neat.
I know the two. I'm trying to sing it in my head
With
now.
a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably banger. That's probably a banger.
I'd probably go Bop.
Yeah, I mean, it's borderline for me as well. Like,
I think it was the one. Your description of Katie B is how I feel about.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a period of time, and it's probably not their fault, but when our generation picked up like classic UKG, classic funky house, suddenly everybody and their nan was a massive garage head, and they were like, because I know 21 seconds. So then there is.
Hang on.
Let's slow down a second. And I think I went to uni in Leeds. I think I must have seen DJ Luck and MC Neat maybe like 4 times in the space of 2.5 years. Like they were just there all the time.
Just a staple.
They were just a staple, and don't get me wrong, always put on a show, and like it was nice that they had the opportunity to get their flowers, but then it killed the tune for me. And then they wouldn't then play a set of like new stuff
because everyone just wants to hear that.
And it's just the same repeat of like sort of tired tunes. But
yeah.
Do you feel warm? Do you feel like the ice is broken?
Yeah. I'm toasty, man. Toasty.
Let's get into your album, because I've really enjoyed listening to this one, and one of the best things about doing this podcast is I do get to like pick up a lot of new music, and I'd heard of this artist before, but never like deep dived or never like listened to a full project,
like really gone
into it, and I'm really glad that I have. And even just like the story and everything behind them is amazing, but people aren't here to hear me fucking prattle on. So without further ado, could you
it's your podcast, mate. I think they are. I think that's exactly why they're here.
Too bad. Could you let me know your By the Rest Place album and why you chose it?
So I chose an album called Salvador by Sega Bodega. He's one of my favourite artists. As a producer, I think he's absolutely insane. And yeah, he's got a few albums. I think Salvador was like the first kind of full length one, definitely the first one that I sunk my teeth into properly. yeah, I was kind of I was it was a toss up between this and some of his other albums, to be honest, the more recent ones. But I think this one is like, as a album, it's more not cohesive. Just I just think as an album, it's a better album. Than some of his other albums have what I would say are some of his better tracks or some of my favourite of his tracks. But I think this one is just project, a whole project. It's kind of got everything to it. It's weird. There's elements of like a lot of different musical genres all getting mixed and muddled up in there. It's got weird kind of glitchy electronic sort of soundscape to it. It's like deep, clearly, and very personal and emotional. And yeah, there's a couple other things that, you know, little bits of like lore or whatever about the album that I've picked up on through
hit me with the lore
social media. Well, like there's a track on there, I think it's called Calvin.
Yeah.
Which is like
a banger, by the way. A
sick tune. Yeah. It's made for you know, it's like an ode to one of his friends who I think committed suicide. So it's quite a dark tune, quite a sad tune. But there's this did this thing in it in the production where the first verse you can hear kind of on any sound system, and the second verse, because the first verse is supposed to be him talking to his friend who he's lost, and then the second verse is supposed to be the response from his dead friend. But the way he's like mixed it, so it's like super wide or something. Basically, there's a lot of sound systems that don't have that information in the second verse. So on certain sound systems, you can listen to it and there's just the music. There's no lyrics on that second verse. What? And he did that deliberately so that some mental. Systems it plays the second verse and some systems it doesn't, because it's from the perspective of his dead friend who isn't actually there. Yeah, Jesus Christ. So it's just like shit like that where it's like, it's like
galaxy brain.
It's just, it's like a crazy thing to put in there.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. It's just genius. It's like, just such a sick little touch.
How do you even like? It's the thought process of actually getting there that is. Like,
let alone the technicality of like, okay, how do I mix this so it's just gonna sound like silence on a lot of systems? I think it's something to do with the like mid-side kind of thing.
That's
gets
mad.
A bit techie. But
that's serious. That's a great little bit of lore. This was a really fun listen for me, and like I've started to do my own diving into just like more Sega Bodega. Also, one of my favourite names to say of an artist. Sega Bodega.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue so
well.
Rolls off the tongue. I just think like I'm really in a space and time where I like hearing music that I've not heard before. Like I really struggle to draw parallels to it, and like even if it's not necessarily a genre that I'm like.
I mean, what genre even is it?
Facts. Like, it's just, it's not something that I'd ever be drawn to. And then you listen to it, you just can't help but enjoy it. And I think as well, maybe because there's that poppy element to tracks like You Suck, for example, where
like Raising Hell,
Raising Hell. So like every time you're pulled in a direction of like, do you know what? Perfect. Like it's I think it is like album construction. Like what's the word? Go on. Where's English language juxtaposition?
Okay, right, yeah.
Of Masochism into Raising Hell. Masochism, I'm like 2 songs in, and I don't know what this album is going to give me. Like, am I at this point of I'm going to give up? Like, I don't know if I can listen to this anymore. Boom, you drop Raising Hell, and you're like, oh, this is a bit of a beat.
I think it actually brings you back in. It brings you back in. The start of the album, like Too Strong as well. It's a weird listen. It's kind of like there's something about it that's just like, this is slightly uncomfortable. Like, I can't put my finger on why, but like something about this is just, you can't predict. Whereas like, Raising Hell is just, okay, here's a nice kind of pop tune. It's like a palate cleanser.
It's definitely that, and I think it's they're well placed within the album to make sure that you're continuing to listen to the album.
Yeah, to kind of balance it. Yeah,
it goes to show the thought process. I was chatting to a girl on Hinge about it, which is not this album, but like I think album construction is like a really underrated art. Like being able to have your tracks, and especially when you've got like a story that you're trying to tell or a message that you're trying to make, like putting them in an order that makes sense to the listener, whether it be content wise, whether it be sonic wise. Like it's something that I find really fascinating. Like, why is this song the start? Why is this the outro? If this is the outro, what are you leaving them with? Like how does it all fit together?
And I think there's like a balance between what the kind of narrative in terms of like lyric storyline or whatever. Okay, maybe your track can tell a narrative with that, but then there's also like I think it's really important to have a narrative in the sonic landscape. So that's take all the lyrics away, it's still kind of telling some sort of
100%.
You know what I mean?
So there was a journey that's being going.
Exactly. There's like a more complicated topography to it. It's like okay,
some undulation. I hear it.
Yeah.
Like we were talking. One of my mates who jumps on the podcast on a regular basis, Kingsley. Hello. We were talking about Romance. That was his by Fontaines DC, one of his best albums of last year. And one of the things he said, like the last track on that album feels like a send off. It's like
it's like okay, this is a closing track.
Everything rests, and like these things don't go without a reason. Like there is a decision that is made. There is a conscious effort. There is a choice.
There's a design.
There is like these things aren't random. And that was one of the things that I loved so much about Salvador, is that I was like being pulled from pillar to post, but I was like for a reason. Like from the themes and the like lyrics to the titles of the songs, like everything is that discontent and unease, and it is meant to make you be a bit jarred as an audience, as a listener.
Yeah, for sure.
But like it's telling you, okay, just keep going. It will be worth it. There's
the little pockets of like catchy pop, even in the mental tunes.
Facts.
There's like little bridges or like little sections that you're like, oh, okay, this is a pop tune again, and then it gets weird, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%. While we're on it, favorite song on the album, if you could pick one.
I mean, there's at different points I probably would have said every different tune on this album, but I reckon maybe Heaven Knows. Maybe Heaven Knows. Maybe Heaven Knows. But going back to what I was saying about like, there was some of his other albums that I was like I think my favourite song of his, full stop, is one, I think it's off Romeo actually. It's called Only Seeing God When I Come. Fuck, that's an absolute banger. Like,
as soon as we finish recording, I'm going to. I need to hear what this song sounds
it's got
like.
A kind of like UKG sort of. Oh mate, it's ridiculous.
Okay, calm. But
yeah,
that's his.
From
would you
Salvador.
Say that's his best
I would
song?
say that's his best song.
Right,
But from Salvador, I would probably go Heaven Knows. Yeah, okay. There's something like, in the kind of hook line or whatever. The last line of it, he kind of drops super low, a couple octaves or whatever. So there's something about that little drop for like, I'm singing it and I'm like, does something.
It scratches the itch.
Yeah, man,
I know what you mean. I love Heaven Knows. I probably would go You Suck.
Yeah.
I'd probably go You Suck, because like that was the one song that, by the time I'd done like my second listen through the album, I was repeating "You Suck." It's so catchy, and I think I know we spoke before, like the work with Shy Girl and their label, and that sound of futuristic, electronic kind of slutty pop.
Yeah.
Is just it works, like it does, and it's catchy, and it's something that I think is like we're in the world of fucking Charlie XCX and Brat, like that
sure,
that sort of vibe.
Definitely with the Shy Girl stuff,
Yeah.
it's like it's super adjacent to that. I
And
think when he's on his own, it kind of like, you know, he's no Shy Girl.
Yeah,
so like,
exactly.
He doesn't bring that kind of energy to his own stuff. It's a
Mm.
bit more like introspective, I would say. But yeah, I guess hyperpop would be the genre if you're gonna pick one. I know a lot of people kind of like push against that term, but I take a lot of inspiration, or did definitely, for the production on Ponzu from what I would consider to be hyperpop. Like, there's a big area of things that could be. Sometimes I'll say like, oh, hyperpop, and people will be like, oh, like 100 gex. And I'll be like, well, like, yeah, like, I guess that, partly. Yeah, I guess that is, you know, yeah, I can't argue that that's hyperpop. But it's not what I think of when I'm like, I would think of like, Sega Bodega, Palmistry, like Oclu, those kind of artists. There's much more like, much less abrasive than like 100 gex, for example. Just kind of like, and
a little bit less like, I don't know, on the nose of hyper, like 100 gex is pop. Like, it is hyper pop. Do you know what I mean? In the maybe most like abruptive way.
Yeah, like, just like actual sledgehammer to your head kind of way. Whereas this is hyper pop in like a
nuanced.
There's subtlety to it.
Yeah, facts. Agreed. So you did have a suggestion, and for the first time, I'm gonna tell the people, I'm afraid, for the first time, I've had to turn down an album, mainly because it's not an album.
Is it an album? Yeah, we're
not sure, and it was like I was still trying to process what I was listening to.
What is this?
Before I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about this. But I was adamant that we were still gonna give it some time and space, because I think it deserves some time and space.
Yeah, definitely. I think, so it's a crazy piece of art.
Let me and the people know a little bit about what this project is that could have been your vinyl resting place.
So the project is called Lay Disc Radio Broadcast.
You see why I struggle, right?
By Iglooghost, who's a ridiculous producer and has been for years and years and years.
Did you know Iglooghost prior to this?
Yeah. I knew Iglooghost. I think it was a pal of mine from Edinburgh, RJ Cherry, put me on to him. And we booked him for a show in Edinburgh years and years ago now. Must have been 2016 or something, like really early days. Like that was when he was kind of first coming out. So yeah, Ronan was had his ear to the ground for that, for sure. Yeah, this project particularly kind of just blew my mind.
Explain it to the people at home. Like, what is this project?
It's like it's a bunch of Iglooghost's production, which is mental. Like really techie, intricate, futuristic, beautiful, like there's a lot that can be said for it. I think it's like Beethoven levels of composition.
Wow.
It is though, like, do you know, there's so many different noises interacting, and then it's Beethoven levels of composition, and then it's been like mixed and mastered in this like weird futuristic like way. It's just so technically ridiculous, and like on top of that, all the tracks are kind of intercut with this radio broadcast, which is him talking about having like found these bits of music on lay discs, which is this weird thing that he's invented. You know, there's all this lore to it about like it was kind of like, it's not really based on language. It's like, I can't even describe it all. You kind of just have to listen to it to get the full kind of width of the world he's created. But yeah, it's kind of, he sort of describes each track as summoning a different entity, and then he'll describe the entities like, oh, this one summons a lime green cloud, this one summons a mute egg and stuff. It's just, really bizarre, surreal.
I can only say to everybody, like, from that description, if you are scared of it, go listen to it. Like I was scared.
Yeah.
Initially, when you said it across, I was.
You kind of should be.
It's scary, but it is like you say. In its very unique way. It was beautiful. Like I was just intrigued the whole way through, and like I think part of art. Let's like take music out of it for a second, because I think sometimes at points, especially if this is not something that like you would initially be drawn to, at some points it's musically difficult to listen to. Like it's not like it challenges you as a listener, but like I still think it is. I still think it is doing the job it's supposed to do as a body of work. Like it draws you in with the intricacy and I'm almost like, oh, where's he going to go next? Like what is
because you don't understand.
Because
you're kind of like, okay, so
and
you're waiting for the explanation to pay off, and it kind of never does.
Yeah.
Like, all right, okay.
And then you're done. And you
start to build up the world bit by bit. Yeah.
No, 100%. I couldn't let you leave without talking about Ponzu in a bit of detail. Like, I was fortunate enough to get the exclusive of the album. I got the EPK, that media pack. I've been listening to it fucking non-stop, mate. I've been listening to it non-stop. I would love to know. I know we've touched on it a little bit, and we've worked our way through some of your influences. But yeah, I would love to get your perspective on like what Ponzu is, what you want people to take from the album, what you put into the album, and then you can tell everyone when they can go and buy it.
Ponzu is a new album that I made. Took me a fucking long time.
How long?
I think the first instrumental that I made, which ended up being on the project, I would have made in about 2017.
Fucking hell, man.
And it kind of sat gathering dust for a long time. But it was only kind of pulled together in the last year or so.
And why now? Why, like, this is something like, again, my album nerd coming out, but like, what makes you feel like this was the time to bring out that to pull back into the archives of these tracks that were sitting there for?
I think the one that I've got, it's actually the track Ponzu. It was the beat for that was the one that I made ages and ages ago. I think when I made that, I was so happy with it. I was like, this is an amazing beat. And then I kind of couldn't write to it because of that. I was like, so I need to do it justice. Do you know what I mean? So like,
I don't have the bars.
Yeah, literally. So for like, a couple of years, it kind of just sat gathering dust, waiting. And then after enough time had passed, I was able to revisit it and work it into an actual tune. So yeah, I mean, it's been a while. And what was the other parts of that question? What do I hope people get out of it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever they want to get out of it. Like, but I think that goes back to like having it as, art being open to interpretation. Like, as long as you get something out of it, or even if you don't, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, sound, man, like, cool.
Yeah,
it's not for you. If you get something out of it, you get something out of it. Let me know what it was, or don't.
Shall I tell you what I got out of it?
Yeah.
Shall I tell you what I got out of it? Because I've been fucking bumping this shit. It's I feel like a fucking gas kid. I was like, I want my favorite rapper. For me, I think you spoke about it with the idea of the soundscape, the setting of the music, but like I felt that, especially from like wish I was at home to like Veins, so that's like an 8-track period. I was locked in without thinking about it. Do you know? I love that, even though the songs are different, that they have these little interludes and changes and like little snippets and rainfall and all these soundscapes that are included in it. I didn't know when one song was like ending. Like, it all just felt so cohesive, and it speaks to like the moodier parts of my mind. Like, I feel like this is the sort of album when I was like getting shit done and work and doing my day job and just being like, this was a big solace sort of album.
Like a kind of
It was like
from the sort of frustrations of life.
Yeah, and I feel like I we've talked about it a bit on the podcast. I think there is a lot of space for adult angst, like everything that comes from like grunge, and it's all maybe like a little bit more juvenile in its nature. Whereas I feel like now, as like we are getting into our mid to late 20s, early 30s, it's the like mundane that is there's not like everything. Well, partly everything is going wrong. Like the world is on fire around us, but it's like the day-to-day frustrations that are the biggest pains and the biggest struggles that each individual is facing, and trying to escape those issues for me are bigger than, because they have to, because you can't change the world if you can't change yourself.
I totally.
And like,
even if you can, you
probably exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that element of I need a cathartic release that is not over the top, which is not like overtly angry and screaming and shouting. It's something that is peaceful and melancholic. But do you know what? Sometimes like this shit annoyed me. Sometimes I'm not okay with some shit, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love it. I think Collapsed Lung is an unbelievable tune. I'm a big fan of Ponzu. I think I've always it feels difficult when you're picking a favourite song and it's the titular song, because you feel like,
but there's a reason it's the titular song. You know, like I think aside from it being the oldest beat, I think it like it's pretty good as like a kind of, if someone was like, oh, you got an album coming out, play me one song off it that kind of will give me the idea of the whole album, then it would be that track, I think.
Fair. And what does Ponzu mean?
It's like a condiment.
It's actually,
it's like mirin. It's kind of like a sort of bitter, citrusy Japanese condiment.
I was hoping you'd say like it's Japanese for melancholic.
No, it's not that deep.
It's not that deep. Whereas I was like, this song, it gives me so much peace. Like, it's just a fucking condiment. Shut up, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's just a kind of like salty citrus condiment. Yum.
I told you we get back to food. I told you.
Get the pickled eggs out.
I think, I said how everything kind of revolve. You could tell a lot about a person by their snack choice. I think your flow as well, in terms of how like intricate, and sometimes you pick pockets that maybe people wouldn't necessarily hear, and like there's a lot of like
you gotta get all the dust out.
And I was with Renell yesterday, and I was like, oh, I've got Tzusan coming on the pod tomorrow, and he was like, he's a fucking genius. I was like, I know. And it was like, he just looks at the world in a different fucking way. And I was like, that's how I felt listening to the album. And he was like, I've been thinking about this for time. He's like, you have a way about articulating things that is just different, and it works. It works for you. And do you know what? I will say, accent is a bit of a cheat code. The accent is a bit of a cheat. Rapping in a Scottish accent is hard. Like, it just is. But it does really work for you. And I think the albums come together really nicely, and I'm looking forward to hopefully people at home being able to buy that shit. It'll be out now. By the time this comes out, it'll be out.
Go buy it.
What else do us as fans of Tzusan have to look forward to this year?
Well, we're doing a tour for the Ponzu UK tour. I'm in Edinburgh on the 7th of March with Verbs and Mr. Slips for the album launch. Then Glasgow, Aberdeen, Leeds, London, and a couple more to be confirmed.
Very excited.
Yeah.
This is very
it's available on vinyl and digital, and I'll do some t-shirts.
Decent, maybe. We'll see how it feels.
Yeah.
We'll see how.
Do you want t-shirts with merch and stuff? It's like, it's hard because you want to do something that stands out. Everyone does t-shirts, so then like,
because everybody wears t-shirts.
Yeah, aye, for sure. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Everybody like
accessories
has socks or
yeah.
like drinks tea or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a
but-
mug or like a, do you know? There's so many things. I think, yeah, you're right that it's like that because that way works and people need t-shirts and blah blah blah. But
then to be a t-shirt that is merch that also sells and like people are gonna wear, it has to be like they either have to love the artist so much or it has to be like
a mad design.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That is true. Whereas accessories can be like, yeah, design,
subtle
but
branding
like,
or whatever,
a little
blah, blah,
logo,
blah.
which is true. Yeah,
for sure.
We need to do some merch. Hannah.
Susan umbrella, that'd be hard.
Susan, a little golf umbrella.
Yeah,
that'd be
Susan umbrella,
sick.
Mate, that would be
A
cool.
Ponzu umbrella.
Yeah. That'd be hard.
And the
I'll be looking into
and the
this. I'll be
album
looking
cover
into
as well.
this.
That would
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
sick.
It's a pretty rainy album. So
It's such
works,
a
man. Yeah.
I don't know.
Corner of the
I think you
Scottish
should.
market.
I think right now I'm without an umbrella. If you had a Ponzu umbrella, I would buy one immediately.
Shit.
Yeah, I will buy one. I think I'm gonna get the vinyl anyway. But
I missed the trick.
You did miss the trick, and it's raining today. What could you have? You could have like shaken it off in the
Terrible.
studio and then
It's
like singing in the rain. Vibes.
Yeah. Oh, mate. It's all gone.
It's
wrong.
all gone wrong.
Yeah.
Cut the episode.
Yeah, that's it.
We're
That's
done.
it. Cancel the album, mate. Fuck it.
I'm going home. I'm over it.
Going home in the rain without an umbrella.
It's a nightmare. Thank you so much for coming in.
No
today.
worries, man. Thank you for having me.
It's been great. Please, everybody.
Been a good laugh.
Make fun of my accent. I'm joking.
Oh, don't stop that. We'll be here all day, mate. We'll be here all day.
Thank you so much for listening at home. Please do follow Suzanne on all socials. You on TikTok?
Nah.
Yeah. I thought no. All socials bar TikTok. And definitely go and listen to Ponzu. Buy the vinyl. Buy the umbrella. It is definitely worth it. It will be 100% worth it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining. Have a lovely next 2 weeks and you'll see the podcast very soon. Peace.